last Friday I have explained or given a general introduction of the nature of the mind and what it is. And tonight we are going to follow this word uttered by the Buddha for us to concentrate or to contemplate, to understand the nature of the mind as well as to train the mind, if not to develop our mind. Then who is going to train the mind? So when we are going to train the mind, who is going to train? That's right. How can mind train the mind? I remember last Friday I gave an example also. To understand this, you have to define the mind. When we use this word mind, we think only about one track. When you analyze how many mental faculties are there, how many? 4. 4 mental faculties. And they have different functions, different activities, or different mental attitudes. Chitta, or the mind, is pure mental energy. It is unpolluted, pure mind. Later, the other mental faculties either purify or pollute the mind. Now here in this discourse, the Buddha is telling us how we pollute our mind and how we purify the same mind. But still, you did not answer my question, how mind can purify the same mind? How to do that? By using one mental faculty, and we use that particular energy to train the other mental faculties. This is the method. That is why it is called concentration or contemplation or meditation. Kathancha bhikkhave bhikkhu citte cittanupassī viharati. So how can a meditator concentrate on the mind? Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu saragam va cittam saragam cittanti pajanāti. Vīta rāgam va cittam vīta rāgam cittanti pajanāti. Vīta dosam va cittam vīta dosam cittanti pajanāti. Vīta moham va cittam vīta moham cittanti pajanāti. This is called one word. We can use introspection. We introspect our own mind and try to find out the mental activities. In simple language, try to find out what the mind is doing at this moment and the nature of the mind. Here, the Buddha has given 6 kinds of mental attitude. negative and positive, then 12 altogether. Good ones and bad ones. The first item is Saragam va chittam saragam chittanti padana. We try to understand when we introspect, when we develop some sort of mindfulness to understand the nature of the mind, then we come to know at this moment I have raga in my mind. So raga. What is raga? Raga, craving or lust. Lustful thought. The mind is working with lustful thought. After that, all the other mental faculties contribute, then aggravate the situation. After that, senses also become very active. Eyes, nose, mouth, ear, and the body. All the five senses. Then the mental object, again we create a mental object because of all these activities. That mental object, when it appears, if it is fascinating, beautiful, colorful object which appeal to influence our mind, then we cling to that. Then we develop our craving. After this craving, we develop attachment. Then so many other mental activities arise one after the other. So the awareness of this particular thought is for us to handle this mind without allowing this mind to create evil thoughts, wicked, harmful, dangerous ideas in the mind. There are three main roots which create all the evil forces in our mind. Those three are responsible for everything. Raga, dosa, moha. Just now we mentioned here. If not, lobha, dosa, moha. Craving, hate, not aversion, and ignorance or delusion, illusion, or wrong concept. These are the three main roots. Again, when we define these three, we can understand craving becomes the cause of hatred, anger. If there is no craving, anger never appears in that mind. Now, craving has become the prominent force in the mind. Again, when we analyze, we come to know ignorance is the main cause. Right? If there is no ignorance, we never nurture, we never develop craving. It is due to lack of understanding we develop craving, not knowing the repercussion or the outcome or the effect of this craving. And now you can understand the wheel of existence dependent upon origination, how the life was originated. The main cause is pointed as craving. That is for the creations of a body or the life, craving. But we have to go beyond that. That is ignorance. If there is no ignorance, craving never arises. Then there are 12 links in Paticca Samuppada dependent upon origination. This one arises because of that. That one arises because of this. This one arises because of this. And we go one round. Again come back to the same ignorance. And that is how we take life as a wheel of existence. Then you can ask one question. If there is a cause for craving and hate or anger, such as ignorance, then how this ignorance appears in the mind? What is the cause of ignorance? Isn't it? There must be a cause for that. If somebody asks this question, is there any answer that you can give? We say, anger appears because of craving. Craving arises because of ignorance. Alright, then what is the cause of ignorance? Have you got any idea? That's right. That is called, there is another word for that, asava. Asava samudaya, avidya. Asava means mental defilements, like sediments. That means when the mind is not pure, many kinds of defilements appear in the mind. But these defilements not yet created a very strong mental energy in the mind to influence all the other faculties. So impurities or mental pollution remains there. Later, all these mental defilements or pollutions form or create ignorance. Then start from there. That is how the Buddha started this from ignorance. Now ignorance has become a strong force to influence the other mental faculties. Earlier, only impurities or the defilements. A simple example, I think you can understand this. Stagnant water in a pond. The water accumulates, but no outlet. But inside, all sort of bacteria, virus or germs, so many things appear. But they have not created big problems yet. So before the formations of ignorance as a strong force in our mind, so our mind is just like stagnant water, impurities remain. Then you can ask again, how these impurities appear in the mind? There must be a cause. Of course, those who believe in God straight away can say, God created all those things, after that no question mark. You have to stop there. But here we cannot stop there. We have to go until we find out the answer. Now what is your answer for that? Who created all those mental impurities or defilements in our mind? That's right. Now that is the answer. This is not the first and the last life. Existence takes place again and again and again as long as those mental impurities exist in the mind. No one can stop it. So what we are doing, within one lifetime, we accumulate so much mental impurity. Before we divide them into craving or hatred or illusions or attachments and so many other things, first we accumulate mental impurity. Then the mental faculties divide them into various other groups. Every second we accumulate certain impurities through our mind, and the mind becomes active, converts mental energy into sound vibration, become words. Words also create again impurities. Then the action, vibration. These three channels always pollute the mind. No one can stop it. But not only pollution, purity also. Now, how many times a day we practice some sort of patience? How many things we tolerate with understanding? During that period, we don't pollute our mind, but we train and purify certain areas, certain faculties in our mind. Again, we develop our kindness, our sympathy, and our generosity to support others. Purity, mental purity. Then we say something to help others, to console others, to support others. Mental purity. Then we do something to relieve others' suffering, worries, pains, problems, insecurity, mental purity. We never take these things seriously. So every day, how many thousands or millions of times we use our mind either to purify or to pollute. Here you can understand. When we deal our mind with worldly, sensual things, more mental pollution takes place. Because of our craving, we develop jealousy, anger, hatred, and enmity and so many other things, so many pollutions. When we reduce our craving, then our craze for so many things we can control. Mind can experience some sort of satisfaction, calmness, then purity takes place. So when you read an important religious book, to learn something, to cultivate your way of life, then you enrich your knowledge and understanding. At that time, you don't allow so many evil forces to come and disturb the mind. If not, you contemplate to do some service to others with good intention. Mental purity. If not, you contemplate on the nature of your physical body, about your feeling and worldly conditions or the situations of the world and behavior of human beings, then some sort of realization appears in your mind to reduce your crazy attitude towards so many things, to reduce your jealousy, enmity, grudge and so many evil forces from your mind through that understanding. This is the practical way we had to train our mind through a realization. I have told you on many occasions why and how each and every human being maintains some sort of different character, temperament, or the attitudes or moods. These are the things that they have developed line after line. Mental process. So after our death, all those accumulated mental process with our consciousness. The consciousness is the main root. All these activities, mental activities or mental habits or our tendencies that we have developed never disappear from our mind when we die. Many people cannot understand this. The belief that some people believe that through the influence of God or devil or some other supernatural living beings, many changes or the different attitudes or the sufferings or the problems or pleasure that we experience. This is the common belief. But Buddhism cannot accommodate this belief because we follow this system. Main cause of discrimination, differences, different mentality, different attitudes are our own, not given by another person. Father and mother also cannot contribute this attitude. Their contribution is very limited. Only for the formations of the structure and the physical body and the brain and some sort of mental attitudes we can find, because of their contribution as genes or protein molecules or whatever it may be scientific terms, but they cannot go beyond. But very cultured, religious, pious father and mother produce criminal-minded children. Now who is responsible for it? They cannot control them. They are not ready to listen to them. Government also cannot control them. Religion also cannot control them. Then how did they get this mental attitude? These big problems, can be solved if we can follow this method. That is our own. We had the opportunities to be born as human beings because we had some other supportive karma, good karma, to be born as human beings. At the same time, we also had bad mental habits, attitude that we have developed during our previous birth. So too much of lust or craving and attachment and hatred, anger and illusions and ignorance also related to our previous birth. How far we have developed them, how far we have controlled them. Now what you are doing here today or in your day-to-day life become your mental habits. At the same time, you also accumulate certain good karmas as well as bad karma. It is natural. You cannot lead a pure religious life. You cannot behave as saint. Impossible. Because you are leading a worldly life. You are dealing with sensual objects which influence your mind to do certain evil things, although you know they are wrong. After that, you try to justify. What to do, that is for our living. We have to do that. And that is not an excuse. But this is the nature of worldly life. Can you do any business today by practicing 100% honesty? How much profit can you make? So honesty is not practical when you go to business. The honest man cannot become a rich man. Therefore, you have to decide which one do you prefer. Whether to become a rich man or to become an honest man. Which one you prefer? Then there won't be any problem. Otherwise, in your business, if you practice 100% honesty, all the others regard you as a fool. They will respect you. Of course, there are some understanding people. They come to know that you uphold your principle. Still, there are people in this world. By knowing this problem, nature of this worldly life, few of them decide to renounce. After this renunciation, they can maintain contentment. Renunciation does not mean shaving their head and changing their clothing into yellow robe or using a religious garb. Renunciation takes place in the mind. Understand? When you decide, I have more than enough. Why should I work like slaves? Why should I bluff and swindle others to earn some more and more? It is a renunciation. But still you have your own property, belonging. Later you realize to maintain, to control, to look after your property, your land and houses and income and expenditure becomes a very big headache, big burden, lot of responsibility, disturb the mind. By considering that way again, you reduce this burden. Slowly, not at once, you reduce it. Then the more you reduce, the more you experience peace in your mind. Now that is called renunciation. Then craving, jealousy, anger, enmity never appear in that mind. Because you are not dealing with all these worldly things which influence your mind to commit more and more evil things whether you like or not. But it is difficult. Why? The craving that we have developed life after life, the attachment that we develop, not so easy to detach, withdraw. In spite of various problems and sufferings and difficulties, even at the risk of your life, you are not ready to renounce. You have to hold on, maintain, because of that craving. Even then, by knowing this situation, that means your way of life, the Buddha did not want to disappoint you. He never said that you cannot practice this religion without renouncing. There's those who prefer or those who can understand. Let us refer to one particular saying. Sambadhoyan gharavaso rajasayatanam iti abhokaso pabbajja iti disvana pabbajja. Now this is the real nature of your life. Gharavasa, household life. That means layman's way of life. Ghara means house. Household life. Sambad, lot of problems and difficulties and calamities and worries and troubles and problems and headache. Is it true or not? You are facing. Then why don't you give up? Not everything. You admit. You have a lot of problems, no peace. Every day grumbling, crying, criticizing, attacking, accusing, cursing, blaming, because of all these things. Here, sambadha, lot of problems. In household life, you have to face. Don't grumble. If you prefer, if you like that way of life, when the troubles and problems arise, you should not grumble. Then you are very brave. Sambadhoyan gharavasa. Then rajas ayatana. Rajas means dirt. Ayatana means a spring. Come out from there. All the dirt, worldly problems come out from the household life. What are those dirts? To maintain your household life, your family, your wife, your husband, children, your business, you had to adapt so many kind of unreasonable and wicked, selfish method. Then start swindling, cheating, telling lies, bribery, corruption, smuggling. See, all these are the dirts we create. For everything you say, what to do, this is for our living. You can do anything in this world by using this world, this is for our living. Then why do you want to live? For what purpose? To suffer more? To cry or to fight more? Because of your craving. That's what Socrates has said. Many others live to eat, but I eat to live. I think 95% live to eat. You see, we want to enjoy. That is the purpose, live to eat. He says, my purpose of eating is to live. So, by living, yes, we can do a lot of things. If we know how to make good use of this life, without abusing, without disgracing, without disturbing, we can live. But that way of life is not pleasurable. Not to satisfy our senses, our craving, our desire, our selfishness. So we want to do something to satisfy, to please our selfishness and desire. The nature of selfishness or desire is such, the more we supply, the more they want. So throughout our life we try to satisfy our craving, our desire, selfishness, never satisfy. Then what will happen? In the end, we have to face the death as unsatisfied, frustrated, disappointed, unhappy persons. So do you feel happy when you are going to die? By knowing this situation, appamadena sampade, work diligently without wasting your valuable life, because you can divert your life to understand it. Otherwise, forever you have to suffer again and again and again. No end. This is called understanding. So when we consider in this way, we can understand mind is responsible for all these things, then try to understand what this mind is. And who create all these problems and troubles and miseries, sufferings in this world? At the same time, who create all the good things also in this world? This human mind. So the understanding of the nature of mind becomes a meditation. And this meditation is called Vipassana meditation. Vipassana means calm the mind, purify the mind, eradicate all the evil forces from the mind through understanding. So when we realize this, then understanding appears in the mind. then we can understand when changes take place, when unsatisfactoriness appears, we know these are natural occurrences in this world. Nobody in this universe who can stop all these things. That is called understanding. Then we can avoid undue worries, then jealousy, enmity, that we always maintain because of our problem. We suspect others. When we are sick, we suspect others. Oh, somebody might have done a charm, black magic. If not devil, ghost, they are disturbing us. Blame others, but not ready to face fact. This is our weakness. We are not ready to analyze and understand nature of our problem. Sometimes we are solely responsible for many of these problems created by us, and we blame others. Because of our jealousy or our anger or hostility that we have developed in our mind, created so many other problems. When the situation is aggravated, we accuse others and blame others. So we can settle all these problems if we are ready to admit our own weakness. Here, saragam va cittam, saragam cittanti pajanati. When you come to know, now very strong craving, selfishness, lustful thought, or sexual desire, burning, sexual urge is what you call completely, it is boiling in your mind. You are misled, you are intoxicated with this. At that time, you can do any kind of evil, wicked thing. You don't care. When you come to know, oh, my mind is like this at this moment, then concentrate. This is dangerous. This is harmful. This can create so many problems. Why not I try to calm my mind, suppress. Then mind becomes normal. Again you will come to know, now there is no selfishness or craving or lustful thought in my mind. Then you experience some sort of relief, because that force is not prevailing in your mind at that moment. That is the only time that you can experience some sort of calmness in your mind. Then concentrate on this to maintain this as long as you can. That is called concentration. Concentrate on your selfishness or craving or lust. Concentrate by considering at this moment this force is not disturbing my mind. Then the second line is sadosang va cittam sadosang cittanti padana. Now anger appeared in my mind. Anger is disturbing me. Anger or hatred or ill will or grudge or so many words are there. The same group. And once this anger arose, you cannot control anything. You go mad, lose controlling power. At that time you don't behave like human beings. Worse than tiger. You say devils are dangerous. Devils are not that dangerous. And you are angry. You are worse than devils. Because devils cannot do so many dangerous things. One or two they can do. But you can do anything in this world when you lose your temper. You can kill your wife, you can kill your children, and you can kill others, you can burn your house, you can shoot, commit suicide, and so by knowing this, concentrate. You lose your temper, think, oh, this is dangerous, this is harmful to me, to others. Then why should I maintain this? Some people are proud of it. They say, you must be careful, you know I am a hot-tempered man. They are proud about that. Justified. Again here, adhyattam va bahidhava, the Buddha has used both. Your own anger and others' anger. Also you have to concentrate on others. Why? It is very important for you to know, to associate with others, to work with others. Otherwise you get into trouble. If you come to know that so and so, say your wife or your husband, not outsiders, lose temper suddenly. At that time you must know how to behave yourself. Handle this case with care. Now that is why the Buddha says, others' nature of anger and your own anger, both you must understand. Then look at how this person behaves, what he talks, his attitude, his face. Then you can see how many changes have taken place because of this. Just flare up this one particular mental faculty. But this anger is worse than many other evil forces in the mind. It is like that. Now if this is a metal vessels, we pour some acid and keep some time. And after some time you can see the acid attack this and eat. And later you can see big holes also around. Burns. Then we take acid from this and throw others. And others also get burned. The danger of anger is like this. The container which maintains this anger also burns. That means anger burns our mind. Anger burns our body. When we take out this anger, just like acid, when you throw others, again burning. Now see the danger of this anger. The words that you use at that time, just like bullets which come out from a pistol or gun. If not, when you use your hand at that time, very painful. All these things are done by anger. In the end, what did you gain? When your anger calm down, you worry, you cry, you apologize, you beg, please forgive me. Now you can understand. Nothing for you to gain. After that, people are scared of you, don't like to associate with you. People say he's a dangerous man, don't go near. This is meditation. So many people cannot understand actually what meditation is. Just go and sit down and listen and come and talk this and that, all sort of thing, but not necessary to go anywhere. Wherever you go, you have to carry your own mind. That mind you carry there, carry here, makes no difference. If you can sit down here and concentrate in this way, it is the highest meditation, to control your mind. When you go somewhere else and ask another person to control your mind, it doesn't work. If you are not going to control your own mind, others can give some advice. If you don't practice, what is the use of this advice? That's why the Buddha says, you must know the nature of your own mind first. Then observe others also, how they behave when they maintain this mental attitude. Then again, when your mind is free from anger, at that time you can maintain serenity, cheerfulness, happiness. You can laugh, you can joke, you can please others, because anger is not disturbing the mind. And then see how you feel. What sort of happiness that you can experience at that time when anger is not there. You know, every time when we develop anger creates excitement. Excitement disturbs the physical body, the whole system, organs, glands, blood circulation, brains, cells. Lot of damages take place. How many people died on the spot immediately when this anger flash. Those who suffer from hypertension or blood pressure, weak heart and hemorrhage, brain hemorrhage, that when the pressure pulls up, the tiny blood vessel cannot tolerate, burst. This anger, it is energy. So the meditation on this calm the mind without allowing these evil forces to ruin our physical body, our brain or our mind, to maintain our dignity, to behave as real human beings, to make use of this life, to do some service to others as well as to serve ourselves. We have to serve ourselves because there is nobody else to serve us for our salvation. That means purity. Another person cannot. Suddhi asuddhi pacchattam nanya manya visodhaye. The Buddha is saying in Dhammapada. Purity and impurity of our mind, we have to maintain. We are responsible for the purity or impurity of our mind. Nanya manya visodhaye. Another person cannot pollute our mind. Another person cannot purify our mind. Please remember this. The Buddha also cannot purify your mind. God also cannot purify your mind. But through them, when you believe, when you respect, when you follow the advisors, then you purify your own mind. They cannot purify your own mind. That is why it is difficult for us to accept that there is someone who can take away our sin. Sins means mental impurity. How can another person take away our mental impurity? Impossible. Not practical. So when we purify the mind, we maintain this freedom and happiness and salvation. only 2 items, 1 hour. There are 6, negative and positive 12 altogether. Then, Vita moham va chittam, vita moham chittanti pajanati. Then come to moha, illusion or ignorance. Moha means, the meaning of this word, moha means that which covers everything. Moha. That means the pure mind cannot work because of these dark clouds. All sort of emotional and concept, belief, ideas, the mental image, and so many other defilements completely cover the purity of the mind. At that time we are blind. Blind means we cannot see things through proper perspective to understand the real identity. Cannot perceive anything through proper perspective. So our identity at that time is wrong. Now we can see a drunkard. So under the influence of liquor or any drugs, the hallucination, the vision that appears in front of that person is not normal, not natural. Human beings, in the eyes of that man, they look like an animal. If not a dog or cow, in the eyes of this man, they look like a human being, he may go and pay respect. The mind is completely deluded. So, a writer has written in his book, to him, there is no difference between a drunkard and religious fanatics. Both are in the same group. Both cannot face facts, cannot see the truth. Both are intoxicated. A religious fanatic is intoxicated with his own concept and belief, and he closes his mind, never open it, and he creates his own kingdom in this concept. Never open the mind and see things properly. Oh, cannot see, it is a sin. That is called religious fanatic. He is worse than drunkard. Drunkard, a man after taking all these things, drinks or drugs, may disturb, talk rubbish, behave very funny way, shameless way, but only for a short period, few hours, or say 1 day. After that he becomes normal. But the religious fanatics forever remain as drunkards. So don't become Buddhist fanatics. Maintain open mind. Respect every religion. Respect those who are worthy of respect, irrespective of their religion. Then you never become fanatic.